Hello and welcome to this video, which is all about a review of my year as an artist. I cannot believe it has been a year since I created my first art vlog on this channel, and I thought to celebrate that milestone I would go over the goals that I set for myself in that very first art vlog. I made 5 art related goals, and I would talk about the ones that worked well, the ones that were failures, like absolute failures, and how the year has gone, and just reflect on that a little bit. And then the plan after that is to talk about my goals for 2024. So I'm going to create 5 new goals and share those with you. Hopefully some of this will be helpful. I mean, I feel like it's probably going to be me rambling about my art life. I don't know how interesting that might be, but maybe the goal setting might help if you're trying to set some goals for yourself. I would love to hear if you have any art related goals or other goals. I mean, let me know if you're planning goals for next year, or if you've been working on something this year, how has that gone? It would be lovely to hear from you, and then it's a bit more like a conversation and it feels a bit more sociable than me just sitting here talking to myself, talking to my lovely dog here who is listening very patiently. So I made 5 goals for 2023, and my first goal was to paint more original paintings. My second was to improve my commission offer, like offer a wider variety of commissions for people. The third was to improve my social media presence. The fourth was to create a website and to start selling internationally. And the 5th goal was to attend at least 1 art fair. So let's see how that went. So number 1 on my list was to paint more original paintings. Now, in general, I think this went pretty well. I painted a lot of original paintings this year, and I was a lot more productive in terms of how many paintings I was creating. In March, I decided to take a month away from commissions, and I focused all of my attention on painting original pieces, which I actually have a video on. So if you want to see that, then check that out. I think it's Art Vlog 3 somewhere on this channel. I also did a painting challenge in between August and September, where I did a 21-day oil painting challenge. I painted every day for 3 weeks. I created 21 miniature originals, and that was really great. I enjoyed that process. It motivated me so much, and I got a lot of response and a lot of reaction from it, and lots of people actually purchased those paintings. So I'm really pleased with how that went. I have created more originals throughout the year as well, so in general I would say I get a tick for that. I think that goal was pretty well done. So although that went pretty well, and I think overall it was a success, there were some downsides to the original paintings that I think I could improve on in the future. I found that I lacked a bit of confidence when I was creating those original pieces, and I spent a lot of time working on small canvases because I didn't want to commit to something bigger. So I worked on a lot of 5x7 inch pieces, I did some 8x10s, but I didn't really do very many pieces that were bigger than that. I just didn't want to commit to it. I was worried I was going to ruin a giant canvas, so I kept a lot of my paintings small, and I did a lot of practice paintings that I had no intention of selling. I did a lot of self-portrait practice and other things like that, and so practice is good. I don't mind that I did practice, and I think that was a good thing to do this year to improve my skill, but it's also not the best business strategy if you want to sell your paintings. Sometimes you need to commit to something a little bit more detailed, a little bit more a little bit bigger perhaps, that people are going to be interested in, and I feel like I kind of dropped the ball on that a little bit. I spent most of my time doing practice pieces and smaller pieces rather than really pushing myself and going for something epic. So there's definitely room for improvement when it comes to my original paintings, but overall I'm pretty happy with how it went. Goal number 2. I think I've rearranged the order of these since my first art vlog, but for now this is goal number 2, and that was to offer a wider variety of commissioned paintings. So Originally, I used to just offer pet portraits. I was open to doing other kinds of paintings, but I didn't actually tell anybody that, so how they were supposed to know that is a mystery even to me. So one of the things I really wanted to do this year was to make it obvious that I actually accept other commissions and I am happy to work on landscapes and florals and still lifes and all kinds of paintings. So I decided to really promote that this year, and I think it started out pretty well. I promoted my commissions a lot online and I shared other paintings with people. I had worked on a couple of landscape pieces over Christmas that I was able to share with people after they'd been given as gifts. And as soon as I could share them with people, then my potential clients and my audience could see that I actually paint more than just pets. I did a really nice architectural landscape, which was pretty complex and challenging, but I enjoyed it and I loved the end result. I was so pleased with it. I worked on portraits of people. I did a really nice floral design later on in the year. So I did quite a variety of commissions as well as the pet portraits, and I'm pleased with how that went. I ended up creating another listing on Etsy for custom landscape paintings. So now there is another option on there. It's not just pet portraits. So you can choose between pets and landscape at the moment, but I could still do a little bit of work on that. One thing that was really challenging for me was painting people. And I wouldn't have known that if I didn't open my commissions up. So I am pleased that I did that because it gave me that experience. I discovered that it actually takes me a pretty long time to paint people. So eventually I decided that I would take that off as an option for commissions and I would focus on other things. But it was really nice getting to figure out what I enjoy doing as an artist and what I want to continue doing. It's not that I won't paint people in the future. I have been practicing so that I can potentially offer that again at a later stage. But for now, I'm happy just doing other kinds of commissions. And overall, I would say my offering a wider variety of commissions has worked pretty well. One thing I would like to improve in the future for commissions is to try and make it a little bit easier for people to order them from me. Commission orders are quite different to just purchasing something online. They need to get in touch with you and talk about what they want, and you need to respond and have a conversation. It's not always obvious how you should order a commission. So I think I need to make that a bit more streamlined and easier for people so it's less daunting and less intimidating and they can actually order commissions quite easily. Number 3 on my list was to improve my social media presence, which is a bit of a big ask and also it's a little bit vague. So let's get into what I meant by that. One thing I did not want to do was I didn't want to aim for a set number of subscribers by the end of the year because social media can be difficult to work with sometimes, and I didn't want to put a lot of effort in and then end up not having a lot to show for it at the end of the year and be disappointed. So I decided not to set goals based on the number of people following, but instead to just post more consistently and try and engage with people that way. But for those who are interested in the numbers, I am on 3 main platforms for social media. I use Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. So YouTube, I started out with 0 because I was making my very first art vlog at a similar time to this last year and I hadn't posted anything yet, so we were just starting from scratch. With Instagram, I think I was on around 178-ish people, and with Facebook, I was on 187. So fairly small, but the people that I did have following me interact a lot. This year, I am currently on 488 subscribers on YouTube, which is excellent. I am on about 383, I think, on Instagram, and 276, I think, or 67. 276 people on Facebook. Let me check that and I'll get back to you. 276 on Facebook is my final answer. So in general, they've all gone up. I think I have, hang on, let me work this out. So, right, last year, altogether, there were 365 people following me across all 3 platforms. This year, 1,147. I can't remember the first number I said, but it's an improvement. We have gone up, so that's good. So the things that I actually were focusing on for this particular goal was I wanted to post consistently on Facebook and Instagram. I planned on posting 5 times a day and then having 5 days a week, not posting 5 times a day, no one's got time for that, 5 times a week, and then having the weekends off. I wanted to be a bit more varied with my posts rather than just putting a picture of my final piece, doing some progress shots, maybe myself being in some of the images, doing some reels as well. But essentially I just wanted to be doing 5 days a week. I have trialed that and here are my results. I do not think that made any difference. One thing I wanted to experiment with this time was to see how much that made a difference. If I was posting more regularly, did that improve the reach? No, it didn't. I posted once a day, 5 days a week, and I've been pretty consistent with that up until now. Now it's Christmas commission time and I'm not posting as regularly. I did not see an improvement in the number of people I reached through that consistent posting of just photographs anyway. I didn't really see that that had any impact at all. It was a lot of effort for not a lot in return. I don't mind doing that so much because I think it helped me to improve my engagement with the people who actively follow me and who are really interested in the work that I post. So I don't actually mind doing that because I'm hoping that's a nice thing for the people who do like to follow, but it did not help me to reach a wider audience. The things that did help were reels. I do not want to admit that, but reels helped, and not all in the same way. So I had reels that I created that just didn't reach anybody and were really poor performing, and then I had one reel on Instagram which was a grisaille portrait reel and it doubled my reach in a few days. So I think I was probably still around that 170 mark, and then I put that reel on and I then got to over 300, well over 300 with that. I don't know why. I can't tell you why that worked. I don't know what I did. I have not been able to recreate that. I've had some success with other reels, but nowhere near that level. And that's still pretty small in comparison to what other people are achieving with their reels. But yeah, I cannot tell you why that was different and why that worked, but it did, and it had a huge impact because it doubled the number of people who followed my page. So I don't like to admit it, but it did make a difference, and I think going forward, reels are going to have to be a part of my strategy if I want to grow on those platforms. So I don't think I maximized it this year. I didn't make the most of it, and I didn't continue to make reels consistently, so that's something I should look at. But there you have it. That's the result of my consistent posting. The biggest difference for me, and the thing that I had the most success with, I think, social media wise this year, was YouTube. I have loved working on YouTube, and to go from 0 to 488, I am not unhappy with that at all. I've loved creating these videos. I know that I have a lot of work to do in terms of improving my editing and making them more entertaining and just coming up with a more consistent approach to it, but I love doing it. It's really enjoyable, and I think when you enjoy something, you're more likely to stick at it and try and improve at it. So this has been absolutely by far my favorite platform. The comments that I get are always really lovely. It's really nice building those connections with people and having like a little community. It's really nice, and I've loved it. So that has been wonderful. I have created different kinds of videos over the years. So I started out not very consistent, but just doing a couple of art vlogs here and there. I focused on some particular subjects as I've gone along. I did a plein air painting, which was by far my most successful video. I think over 6,000 people have viewed that so far, which for me is really great. So that one worked out really, really well. And then I've had others that haven't performed as well, but it's all useful information for me, so I know what I need to work on in the future. Recently, I have started an artist diary series where I go out and explore nature.
It absolutely does not feel like autumn today at all. Excellent.
I create a painting from my explorations. If you haven't seen any of those yet, then feel free to watch them and also let me know what you think to that format. So I've tried lots of different things, and I think moving forward I will diversify and do a few more things. I do want to do more artist diaries, but maybe not as consistently as I had been doing. But I have loved it. It's been really great and I am really enjoying it, and I am looking forward to seeing how this develops in the future. So let's move on to goals 4 and 5, which failed. So we started out really well, we started strong, and I was good with those 3 goals, but I did not do so well on the others. So let's get into what didn't work, because I think it's also important to discuss the things that we didn't quite manage to achieve and reflect on why that might be. So number 4 was kind of 2 things in one. I was probably cheating a little bit there because I wanted 5 goals. So my goal for number 4 was to create my own website and to start selling work internationally. So website first, what happened there? So I still want to create a website for myself. I think there are lots of reasons to create a website. This is just my personal preference, but I feel like a website is a little bit more professional than using a different platform. I like the look of a website, and I think it's nice to have everything all together in one place. It would be lovely to have a way to reach people that doesn't rely on social media. So if I'm ever unable to access my social media, I still have a place that I could contact people from. I like the fact that you could have a mailing list associated with your website. Also, I could have a form for my commissions, which would make it easier, hopefully, for people to order commissions from me because they could access a form and it would be more streamlined and straightforward. So if I want a website so much, you might well be asking, why haven't I got one yet?
That's a good question.
I decided to not do it straight away because I was looking into different options and it seemed a little expensive for me at the time. I know there are different price points for different websites, but I was looking for something that had an e-commerce function and it just seemed quite a lot of money to be putting out there. So I thought maybe I should wait until I'm making a few more consistent sales before I reinvest in the business and I start my own website. And now I'm kind of in a catch-22 situation because I think I would sell more if I had a website because it would be a bit more professional and maybe it would be a little easier for people to commission from me because they could be directed to the website. But I don't want to start a website until I'm making more sales so that I can afford the website.
So, don't really know where to go from there.
But that's the current situation. So I still want to do it. It's still planned to be done, but it just hasn't happened yet this year. I'm not making it a goal for next year because it'll just happen when it happens, but that's where we're at with the website. One other thing to note is if you hear snoring in the background, that is my dog, who is now sleeping. He's all cozy on the sofa. So if you hear snoring, it's this guy. He is fast asleep. So international sales was something that I planned on doing in conjunction with launching my website. I thought I'd do both those things at the same time. And it was just because I've only ever sold to the UK. So this time last year when I was making my goals, I thought it would be nice to expand that a little bit. It didn't work. So in a year later, I am still just selling to the UK.
So what happened there?
I don't know is the answer. It's something I looked into. I did want to do it and I spent a lot of time researching it. My plan was to start at Europe because it's a little closer and then move further afield. But selling in Europe was more complicated than I thought it was going to be. There was just so much to read up on and I didn't really understand what was required of me in order to be able to do that. And I was spending so much time looking into it. Like instead of painting, instead of making YouTube videos, I was just researching what I needed to do. And I thought, this is ridiculous. I can't spend so much time doing this. So in the end, I decided just to leave it because it was way too complicated for me. I think moving forwards, at the moment I'm still just selling to the UK, and I guess it depends on who is interested in buying internationally because it might not actually be a problem. I might just be able to continue selling in the UK. My plan at the moment, if I do sell internationally, would be to sell to the US, and that would be the main other place to sell to, but we'll see. I mean, the reason it hasn't expanded is because it was way too confusing for me. But it is still something I'm interested in doing. But again, it's not necessarily on the list as a target for next year. It will happen when it happens, if it happens at all. And the fifth goal is actually quite straightforward to cover. My goal was to attend at least one art fair this year, and I didn't do it. So we can just write that one off. That just didn't happen. So yeah.
Didn't do it. Don't have a reason. Don't really have an excuse. Just didn't do it.
I think, to be honest, it was only really on my list because it was something that I thought I ought to be doing. I'd seen that other artists attend art fairs and craft fairs and they sell their work in person, and so I thought maybe I should be doing that too, and so it was on the list for that reason. But when I actually really thought about it, it's not really something that I wanted to do. You know, I'm at the moment not really interested in selling my work that way because it seems like it's a lot of hard work. I mean, you've got to make a big inventory so that you have enough things to sell at a place like that. You've got to maybe have your own table, perhaps your own gazebo you're going to bring. There's a lot of transportation to figure out. Will you have a range of products? Is it all going to be high-end art pieces, original paintings, or are you going to have some smaller pieces at different price points? There's just a lot to figure out.
It was confusing.
So when I had the opportunity to enter some of these fairs, I put it off and I procrastinated and I just didn't want to do it. And then in the end I thought, why am I trying to do this if I am so unhappy about doing this? So I've just decided to write that one off, and that stopped being a goal. My heart just wasn't in it, and I think you've got to really want to do the thing if you're going to do it successfully. So let's move on to 2024 and start looking to the future. So I have 5 again because I seem to like making goals in 5. Let's get into that. So goal number 1 is a pretty straightforward one, and it follows on from last year. I would like to make some more original paintings, but with a twist. So there's an extra part to this now. I want to make original paintings with the intention of selling them. I want to put more effort into them. I want to put more detail into them. I want to create some larger pieces as well as some smaller paintings, but I want to make them with the intention of selling them. So that is going to be an extra part to my original paintings. I want to paint more regularly, paint more often, and paint with the intention of selling my work. Number 2 on my list is to start promoting my work for sale, which sounds ridiculous because you would think at this point in my career I would be doing that already. You wouldn't think I would need to make a specific goal for that, but I obviously do. I have noticed that I have a real issue with this, and I didn't realize until this year, but I was thinking, why aren't I selling more original pieces? And then I thought, they're not actually up for sale anywhere. Like, I was putting them on Instagram and Facebook and I was sharing with people when I'd finished a piece, but I wasn't putting a price on there. I wasn't saying this is available. I wasn't putting it up for sale. I wasn't putting it on Etsy, which is just ridiculous. I mean, obviously they're not gonna sell if nobody knows they're for sale. So this year I have to get better at that. So to go along with the increased original paintings I'll be doing, I also want to be much better at promoting myself and being better business minded. So at the end of each month, I want to be taking photos of all of the work that I've created up until that point, creating listings for them, and doing at least a monthly shop update where everything is put online with a price, it's available for sale, and then I want to promote it. I want to put it on Instagram in the stories. I want to tell people about it on Facebook. Maybe I'll mention it in a YouTube video. I don't want to be like this salesperson who's just always talking about the work they've got for sale, but I do need to step it up from where I am right now because I am not very good at it. So the second goal on my list is to promote my work more effectively and to actually put things up for sale. The third thing on my list is actually not quite painting related, but it's still related to the career of being an artist, and that is I want to create a proper working week for myself. I want to set aside 5 days of the week to be my proper working days where I'll work 9 to 5 or similar hours. It doesn't have to be 9 to 5. I could work a little earlier and finish a little earlier, but you know what I mean. Like, I want to set myself proper hours 5 days a week, and I want that to become my routine. One thing I discovered this year is I sometimes don't prioritize this in the way that I should do. I think being self-employed, it can be easy to fall into the trap of leaving your work to go and do something else because you are the more flexible one. If you have an appointment to keep or some meeting to attend or something else to do, it's easy to think, I'll get back to my painting after that. I'll just leave it. I'll go and do this other thing and then I'll catch up with it. But you don't. And those commitments build up and your painting can get pushed to one side. And one thing I have recognized, particularly while I was doing my 21-day painting challenge, was how important it is to prioritize this. Essentially, this is my job and I need to be working at it consistently in order to be successful at it. I can't keep putting it to one side and not prioritizing it when other things come up. This has to be my main job. And so I'm going to give myself 2 days off a week where I can go and do other things, where I can catch up with friends and family and do all the other things I want to do. But those other 5 days of the week need to be working days, and I need to be painting or editing YouTube videos or working at some part of my business. And that, I think, is probably going to be one of the most important goals for me in order to really make this career successful. Number 4 on my list is to be more consistent with YouTube and create a video either every other week or every week. I just love this platform at the moment. I love creating these videos. I know that I have some work to do to make them a bit more entertaining and a little bit more interesting for people and to improve the editing, but I really enjoy working on these videos. So this is hopefully going to become a big part of my business in the future. I really like reaching people this way, so I want to prioritize this. One thing that I do want to do differently is I want YouTube to be working like for me rather than me creating things specifically for YouTube. I know that might not make so much sense, but for example, I created Artist Diaries because I wanted to have a consistent thing that I could use on YouTube. I really enjoy doing that and I want to continue doing it, but it does sometimes clash with the other things that I want to be doing as an artist. Like if I have a lot of commissions coming up and I don't really have a lot of time to do Artist Diaries, I felt like I still needed to go and do that to keep up with that series on YouTube. Whereas what I like to do now is film things consistently, but film what I happen to be working on at the moment. So I can still do Artist Diaries, but I might also film some commission work if I'm able to share that. Or when I'm working on a series, if I want to exhibit somewhere, I will start filming for that. And I want YouTube to be able to tie in a little bit better with the work that I happen to be working at the time, rather than doing something completely separate just for YouTube, even though it has nothing to do with what I'm working on at the moment. And my 5th point is still kind of social media related, but it's more for Instagram and Facebook. I would like to make more reels. I know that sounds like a ridiculous target, a ridiculous goal to have, but I want to see if it makes a difference. This year my experiment was posting consistently and seeing if that changed anything. The next year for 2024, I want to see if it changes anything to be more consistent with reels. I would like to think a little bit more about what I can offer on social media and how I can make things more interesting and entertaining for people and create reels that actually are useful or are entertaining, rather than just making content for the sake of making content. I want to start creating more reels, filming a bit more of my process, sharing that with people, maybe telling people what I'm doing with my paintings or what I'm working on next, and just trying to be a bit more interactive. I think social media is a good opportunity to reach people and to connect with people. So I'm going to try that, see how it works, and I will report back at the end of the year and let you know if my increased reel strategy actually worked or if it fell flat on its face. We'll find out, I guess. Okay, so I am tired now and my throat is really dry, so I think that probably signals that it is time to end this video. I have really enjoyed making this. It's lovely to reflect on how the year has gone, and I hope that you have gathered something from it. I mean, I feel like I've just rambled a lot about what I am doing, which is probably not that interesting. But if you have watched it and you watched it all the way through, then thank you. Let me know if you have any similar goals or if you have completely different goals. I really appreciate all of you for watching this. Thank you so much for supporting this channel this year. I am really pleased with how it's going, and I really appreciate all of you, whether you are brand new to this channel or whether you followed for the entire year. Thanks so much. I hope you have a wonderful 2024, and we'll see you next time.